Hello everyone, I'm back. It's been a while since I've done a video, so bear with me. It's always a challenge to try to get it under 10 minutes, so I'll try to do this as quick and efficiently as I can. Today I'm going to show you how I color gold, and this is an image that I had done. I haven't used it yet on a card, but I got a lot of requests for doing the color gold, whether you're using it on fabric, or something you're coloring something that might be metallic. I found a pretty good combination of colors that gives you a nice golden effect. I also embossed this with gold, so you will see that too. But I use 4 colors to color gold, starting with YR24, and then Y15, Y11, and then Y00 are the 4 colors I use. So let's get started. As always, I start with my darkest color. I'm going to do her pants today, and if I have time I'll go into her shirt, but I think the pants give you a better view without all this detail. And starting with my dark, I'm going to go in where I want it shadowed. She's facing more, her body's leaning more this way to the light, so I'm going to keep this area light on her pants, and of course her folds will be darker. And remember, when you're coloring, I always say this, but it's a good reminder, you only really need to use the tip of your marker. You don't need to be pressing down really hard. The more ink you put down into your paper, the more your paper is getting saturated. And if you're using a good paper, like I use this Gina K, her luxury cardstock in 120-pound weight, the ink sits on the top, so you really don't need to be saturating a lot of ink into it, and it makes it easy for blending. But the more you saturate your paper with marker, the more you press down, more ink and more ink and more ink, you're going to find that your ink bleeds out of the lines, and you don't, of course, want that. And I never use a ton of the darkest color because, again, it is the shadow, so you don't want to use too much. Now this is the Y15. I'm going in next to what I've done. And over slightly. I'm not worried about blending right now. I'm going to take that Y11 and just go over and forward just a little bit and blend. And then Y00 is my lightest color. I can get it open here. And I'm going to go into that lightest part. And this is a little technique I'm going to show you. I think I've done it in one of my other videos, but I'm going to take my YR24 because I need a color in between the YR24 and the Y15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed off the color. I'm going to take my Y15 brush tip, my YR24, chisel end, and I'm just going to take some of that ink. This does not hurt your tip. Don't gasp. Don't be surprised. It will come off. And I'm going to use that to blend in so I get a nice color on the in-between to blend with so that it's shaded and blended nicely. This tip, of course, can be used for any markers. If you're just getting started with your collection, you find that you don't have that middle color to make that third color blend, you can do this with any color. As long as you have a light and a dark, you can create that color. I do this a lot with some of my Copics because I find that some of the colors do not have a good matching buddy or a good blending buddy, as I call them. I'm just going back in here and darkening these edges up just a little bit so there's some contrast. I like a lot of contrast. But again, that's a good tip if you're just getting started with your markers, and of course if you have most of them and you find that you do not have a color that will blend well with them. And then I'm just going in with the Y11. And I'm going to take my Y00 and just lighten up those edges a little bit. that's how I would do her pants. So I think I have enough time. I'm going to go ahead and work on her shirt for a minute. And again, I'm just picking out some areas where I think it would be shaded. It's got a lot of drapes in it and folds. But as I was saying, you don't have to put a lot of pressure down into your brush tip when you're coloring. One, it wastes a lot of ink, and I'm sure you're like me, you don't want to be refilling your markers regularly or spending the money to refill them regularly. And two, it's just not necessary. You can get a nice color just by lightly touching your marker to your paper. And if you don't, then that's a sign that possibly your markers need to be re-inked. If you find that it's not flowing easily when you touch your marker to your paper, or it's kind of squeaking across the paper, or you get some white streaks here, that's a sign that you need to refill. And you want to refill right away when that happens, because you can damage the brush end that you're using when there's not a lot of ink, because you find that you'll be brushing it down more and smearing it across the paper, and it's not wet, so it can damage that brush end, which of course will lead you to buy a new nib, because they are available. They're not expensive, but it's just another thing that you'd have to do. And I'm just going in here and using the same 4 colors and just kind of working them in. So Y11. I don't really use a lot of circles now. I've gotten to the point where I kind of push my ink a little bit. I just kind of feed off of it and push out a little bit. And again, I'm not using a lot of ink. And look, there's my dogs. They've made an appearance for you today. Wouldn't be one of my videos without my dogs barking, right? I try, but it never seems to work to keep them quiet, even though they have some nice Christmas dog bones laying around here. But I guess they like to be included. And I'm just kind of finishing up this a little bit. And that's how I would color her gold, or anything, you know, in this image here, pull this one back out, you know, I had done her hair jewels and chopsticks that are in her hair, and of course I had embossed this in gold, which just added another element of metallics to it, but it works, you know, for anything. I had done a couple months ago a car, and I made it a golden car, and these are the colors that I had used for that. So and you can play around with it. If you don't want as much of the dark, you could use the lighter 3 instead of using the wire 24. I like a lot of contrast in my image. I think it makes it less flat and much more shaded. But you can play around with those 4 colors and, you know, find the technique that you like. But that's how I would color the gold. And I've actually put these 4 colors together in a bundle, and so if you're looking to get them, you don't have them already, you can get them at Susanna's Custom Art and Card Design. But it's great grouping, and you'll find you use it a lot. And of course these colors can be used for multiple things. Wire 24 I use a lot for darker gold colors in hair, and I use them in flowers, so it's not just something that you're going to use for the color gold. You'll find that these colors fit in for a lot of your images. So that's it from me today. I'll see you next time. Bye.